All right, forgot to change my camera angle again. First do that. All right. Can't be out here with the dry voice talking to y'all. Morning. Welcome in. All right. Let's get started. So on the S&P 500, the most obvious level that we need to be looking at, let's go up to a higher time frame chart. We always got to start with the top-down analysis. All right. So here we are on the 4-hour chart. On the S&P 500, every single day, we have consistently been rejecting from this. There we go. On the S&P 500, we have consistently been rejecting from this 442.82 supply level. Pretty much every single trading day that we've seen since this level has been created. This is a 90-minute supply zone. And yeah, bears have been defending it literally every single time. Once, twice, basically twice, and then a third time yesterday. So this is probably the most obvious level that we're going to be watching. Every single time a rally gets put in up into this level, I'm going to first be looking for shorts, ways to get short. A lot of people are going to be chasing this, anticipating a breakout once we get up there, because there's been so many tests of it, and eventually it will end up failing. But right now, bears have continuously been proving themselves. And if we take a look just at the chart in general, we're in a relative downtrend over the past week and the past week and some change. Because of all like the economic news and the war, and then we have earnings coming up, and then the Fed saying that inflation basically is trying to make a comeback. So there's all these different things that is putting downward pressure on the market. And so right now we're in a downtrend. So it makes sense that every single time we come up into this level, shorts are trying to reload their positions. But at the same time, because there's so much bearish news and because so many people are bearish, that's going to leave the door open for a lot of people basically to get trapped. So that is why you also still have to be cautious up at this zone, because there's going to be a lot of people where every time we do get a pullback, they're going to be like, oh no, like this is it. Like we're going to go down some more. This is our next leg down. And when there's so many people thinking that way and so much herd mentality, that's an opportunity for people to get trapped. That's an opportunity for funds to catch people off guard, fill their long positions before we end up making a move higher, and then those shorts have to stop out above a level like this where we've seen so many rejections every single time, and then that is kind of what ends up resulting in a short squeeze a lot of the time. So you do have to be careful up here at this 42.83 supply level. But like I said, until the reaction is no longer valid, I'm always going to continue looking for shorts here until this zone is invalidated. So an actual setup that I'll be looking for today, let me change this to this color. An actual setup that I'll be looking for today is for us to kind of rally up into here, maybe play around a little bit. Let me zoom out for a second so that you guys can really see what I'm talking about. I didn't really do much. Okay, so the setup that I'm looking for today would be saying something along the lines of this, where we can get a nice rally up into the zone, maybe consolidate for a little bit, end up moving right up above yesterday's wick, and then this is where we end up getting our sell into this 42.41 demand today, right? Because as we can see, if we zoom out just a bit, okay, we can see that this was the overnight high inside of this zone. So a lot of people are going to be inclined to chase a breakout up into here like this. As soon as we cross this level right here, this 42.90, a lot of people, especially if the market, like regular trading hours are still going on, people are definitely going to want to chase this, get long. And when so many people are doing that, guess what's going to happen? We're going to end up seeing something like this, and those people will be in pain. And I will be one of the people inflicting that pain if that's the setup that we end up getting today. So yeah, that's kind of like the overall market context that's kind of been going on right now. I would say, yeah, the main levels that I'm kind of mostly paying to is this 42.83 supply for sure, for all the reasons that we just went over. But then to the downside, I am looking for pullbacks first at this 42.41 demand level. We got this on the 4-hour chart from a couple of days ago. As you can see right here, we had our basing candle. This actually resulted out of this demand zone, but then we created new demand here at this 42.41. You could have seen this in real time if you look at the tape. But yeah, we had this major explosion for 40 points, basically, to the upside, again, getting stuffed right at this supply level. But yeah, and then every single time we have come back into this 42.81, right? So this time, and almost here. We'll probably end up testing it today. And this is where I'm looking to watch for longs, right? This 42.41 demand zone. So really my only two scenarios going into today are watching for longs at this demand, watching for shorts at this supply. If I can kind of color code this, I'm watching for longs at demand. I'm watching for sellers, shorts at supply. Those are basically my two setups. Anything in between here is honestly kind of noise to me. Like, can some plays work? Sure. Will they be high probability? Probably not. And so why would I expose myself to that risk when all I need to do is be patient and wait for my levels to trigger, and then I'm good, right? Price comes into here, I'm going to gauge the reaction. If it's the reaction that I'm looking for, I'm going to put a trade on. Price comes up into here, I'm going to gauge the reaction. If I get the reaction that I'm looking for, I'm putting a trade on. That's really that simple. And it makes it much easier for you to be able to journal like after the fact, right? If you have a thorough thought out plan like this with all of your levels plotted on the chart, then all you have to do is follow that plan. And then like that gives you something constant that you can continually test over time. It's like, okay, I made my plan going into today. And then when the market closes, you can look back at the plan and say, okay, did the plan work or not? And that'll give you like really good data to see like if you're on the right track or not. Do you have the right trade ideas or not? Especially if you're not consistently profitable. It's like, all right, that's like probably the easiest thing to kind of like see like if you're doing the right thing or like if you're not. Do you have to switch strategies because your plan going into the day is oftentimes wrong? Like, this will give you like that constant, kind of like a science experiment. You don't want too many variables changing all the time. Instead, you want something constant that you can look back at and then slightly tweak like along or over time to be able to refine your strategy. And then after that point, like it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So also a little tip that I would recommend. That's why you're literally watching this stream. of course, this is also to help you guys out, but this is partially for me too, right? I'm plotting out these levels right here in front of you. And of course, I like document them in writing too. But then after the market is closed, I go back, I look, see kind of what happened, and if I was right or not. Like that's really all it is to it. Trading is kind of simple in that way. Like it's all just about consistently doing the right things and doing like the hard work in an efficient and measurable way, and then being able to go back and kind of like test your data. So definitely don't sleep on like making your plan before the day. It sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised how many people like wake up like 5 minutes before the market open, especially people who, they look for like other people to give them the answers. Like if they're like in signals chats or like looking on Twitter for trade ideas, stuff like that. Those are the people that are going to struggle because they don't have their own plans. And so they come into the market looking for handouts. They don't really know what's going on. They don't have a thought of their own. And then they end up, not really knowing like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Why is it taking me so long to actually make money over time? Well, it's like, you don't have your own plan and you don't know. Then because of that, you don't know like what's really working or not. Is it you? Is it the person's strategy that you're following? Like there's so many things that are inconsistent that it's hard for you to like pinpoint where you're going wrong. All right. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much it for the S&P 500. So let me just go ahead and we're going to kind of document the plan for today in writing, just to kind of recap everything. So give me a second to switch over to something else on the screen. All right. So over here in the Discord, if you're a member of the Discord, you kind of know what's going on. This is where all the pre-market plans are posted, literally all of them. Months, years of pre-market plans. Maybe not years, but definitely months. Since like 2022, January 2022. This is where all the pre-market plans are. So yeah, come here. Let me make my little template for the day. You guys are seeing this in real time. This is the raw stuff. This is exactly what I do day in and day out. Okay. Oops. Downside. All right. So I'll write my little prompt up here later after the stream, and you guys can go back and look at it if you want. But yeah, so what are we watching for today? So to the upside, what did we say at this? I wonder if I can actually put the screen up on the chart for you guys. Let me see. Because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm looking at when I walk through it. Add item. Ooh, all right, hold on. If I can't figure this out like pretty much immediately, then I'm just gonna call it quits. All right, I don't know how to do it, so never mind. I wanted to be able to look at the chart at the same time. We'll just write it out, and then we'll just type through the plan right now, and then afterwards we'll go look at the chart and kind of like recap based off the plan. So to the upside, what are we looking for? Well, like I said, any time that there's a pullback into that 42.41 demand level, that's where I want to look for longs. It's really plain and simple. So to the upside, any pullback into 42.41 demand, I will be open to playing longs. And what are we doing? We're playing longs, and more importantly, we're targeting 42.83. I just say 42.80, but it's really 42.83. 42.83 supply above. And obviously, you don't have to hold your full position all the way, like for the full 40 points. That's an extremely long way to go, especially in today's market conditions. But instead, you can, trim along the way. Maybe you want to trim your position like every 10 points if you're in multiple contracts, something like that. It's really up to you. But yeah. So that's what we're looking for to the upside. Any pullback into 42.41 demand, I am open to playing longs. We also have 42.17 demand below, which resulted in a short-term bottom a few days ago. And for this reason, it's very hard for me to kind of stay bearish when we have two demand zones pretty much like inside of this overall range that we have, right? The 42.80 range down to the 42, let's just call it 42.15 range, right? So 65, I think that's the right math, 65-point range. We have two demand zones within it. So it's very hard for me to continue staying or to even be bearish outside of that 42.80 supply when we have these two demand zones kind of like stacked back to back to each other. So yeah, pretty much like all pullbacks at least into 42.41 demand. And then if that one fails, then I'm still looking for longs inside of that 42.17 demand zone, especially since it resulted in a short-term bottom a couple of days ago at 42.13. So if we are able to like break that low, let's say, and go tap like 42.10 or like even 4200, which is a psychological number, I think a lot of folks will be trapping or be chasing that move to the downside, getting in puts, shorting the market. And that's just going to be a recipe for a reversal and a disaster for late shorts. So yeah, it's going to be very hard for me to be bearish. But with all that being said, the first part of this entire plan was ways that I am looking to be bearish if I'm going to be bearish, and that was from the 42.80 supply zone. So I will first be looking for sellers to emerge inside of 42.80, 83 supply above. This level has been tested several times over the past 3 days and has been defended by bears each and every time. If the tape confirms this thesis, I will be open to playing shorts targeting 42.41 demand below. And again, the same thing that I said about like trimming our position as the move goes in our favor, it's the same thing to the downside. We still have this 42-point kind of like gap between our levels of interest. So you can trim like as the market goes down. In this case, if we're in the short, we can trim our position as the market goes down. And yeah, for me, I like to do that based off of either if there's like kind of like minor support and resistance in the middle, or you can do like the simple approach of just doing like, okay, I'm gonna sell one contract or buy whatever, exit one contract, take profits every 10 points, right? It's very easy, a nice psychological number on the way down. And then each time that you do that, you should be moving your stop loss like up and up and up, like closer to like where the market currently is, to protect yourself from any like drawdown, because you don't want to give up too many profits. You want to kind of like find the proper balance between letting the trade breathe, but also letting your runners run at the same time. So you don't want your stop loss like too far away, but you also don't want it too close either. So yeah, dang, I'm giving you a lot of game in this, just like off the dome, off the cuff. All right, so yeah, this is pretty much the pre-market plan for today. So finally, before we wrap this up, we are going to go back to the chart one more time and kind of recap everything that was just said. So here we are on Thinkorswim. So again, let's zoom in, maybe a 15-minute. All right, so like we said, what are we looking for? We are looking for we are looking for longs right here in this area at 42.40 demand. Any pullbacks that come into here, I'm looking to get long. Like literally every single time we've come into this area, since this area was created, we've ended up bouncing. So if we come into here and we get a similar reaction, aka a bounce, then I'm going to be looking to play long, because a similar reaction will most likely produce a similar result, right? The market has memory, it kind of moves in patterns, so it's all about just being able to like detect those patterns, right? So anytime we come in here, I'm looking for longs. I'm going to be watching the tape, obviously, and for confirmation. I'm not just going to blindly enter as soon as we hit this area, especially since there's a whole freaking like 25 points down into the next demand zone. Like obviously, I'm not going to be holding my position for that long. So yeah, you still have to be looking for that confirmation. I guess ideally, if I had to get really, really specific with this setup, what I would be looking for is something like this, where we kind of pull back into it and then we break this prior low right here, right? So you get like one of these, a nice capitulation down, and then we get that explosion to the upside, right? We break this low right here. We trap a bunch of folks. We trap a bunch of late shorts down here at this level, and then we start moving higher. They start stopping out. That fuels the market even higher, and that's where the real fun begins. So that's what I'm ideally looking for. So actually, this was 42. 42, it looks like 42.42 here. So yeah, if we can basically break below like into 42.40 even on the chart today, intraday, preferably soon after the market opens, yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching for longs there. I think it's only a matter of time before we end up trapping shorts and moving higher for a reversal. So this is kind of the setup that I'm watching for to the upside. And then of course, scenario 2, if we can use another color, would be something like this. Okay, something like that. And then finally, to the downside, we might have a scenario like this, right? Above that 42.90 level. And then that's when we would see something like this, right? So there's 3 different scenarios that we're kind of looking for here. I actually kind of like this illustration, so I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of it. Maybe I'll start doing this more often. Oops, what the hell's going on? All right. Yeah, so those are kind of the three scenarios that I personally am watching for today. You guys saw me kind of create this in real time, walk through it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. We're going to get out of here with 3 minutes to spare. If you're trading today, good luck. I appreciate you all for pulling up bright and early. And yeah, whether you're following this plan or somebody else's plan, just be sure to, stick to your guns, right? Practice that patience, practice that discipline. Don't trade stuff just because the market's moving. You know what you're here for. Just execute. That's really all it is. So, yeah, that's it for this one. Until next time, see you in the next one. Again, good luck.